Welcome back. In this video, we're going over some updates I've made to one-click documentation. I already have a project open and one-click documentation imported, so check the last video for that setup. Let's open the Documentation Manager editor window by going to Tools, Indie, Documentation, then Documentation Manager. This opens the new editor window, which I've given a fresh new look. I've also added more documentation formats. We now have options for Markdown, HTML, and text. In this video, we'll use HTML because I like the way it looks. We're going to regenerate the documentation for this asset. I'll make sure my input folder and output folder are pointed to the right locations. That looks good. I've also added the ability to calculate input tokens. A gotcha here is that we won't know how many output tokens until we get our response, so we can't calculate the cost perfectly without them. However, we can calculate the input tokens before sending them off. When I click on this, the input token cost will print in the console. For example, in this case, it'll cost us a fraction of a penny. To estimate the full cost, I usually double this amount, which still remains a fraction of a penny. And now I'm going to generate this documentation by clicking the Create All Documentation button. It'll take some time as it goes through each script. When it's finished, check the output folder. We can see our 3 new files. I also want to create documentation for this editor window, so I'll drag and drop the single editor script into the single reference and create that documentation as well. Let's look at one of these HTML files. Double-click on one, and you'll also see a fresh new look here as well. Yeah, it's much nicer now. That's pretty much all the updates so far. One-click documentation is getting quite useful for me as it's saving me a bunch of time, especially as I'm actively developing. So I hope it'll be useful for you too. Thanks for watching. See you next time.